Sorry. Dengar dah kan?
Dengar.
Okay. Okay. Okay, fluid compartment ni korang kena tahu dia ada three main fluid compartment. Intravascular, interstitial dengan intracellular. Okay, kalau intracellular ni dia dalam sel. Korang ingat je kalau in dalam, X luar. X tu macam exit lah. Jadi senang sikit ingat. Okay, kalau inside cell ni dia ada 2/3. Kalau outside, kalau ECF 1/3. Kalau extracellular ni dia ada terbahagi kepada dua, iaitu interstitial fluid dengan blood plasma. Kalau interstitial fluid pula dia 8% daripada ECF termasuk lymph, cerebrospinal, synovial, pericardial, pleural dan peritoneal fluid, fluid dalam mata dan telinga. Kalau blood plasma pula 20% daripada ECF. Okay. Kalau plasma dia contain protein, elektrolit, air dengan dissolved gases. Okay, next pula. Kalau fluid compartment, lelaki dengan perempuan dia tak sama, dia berbeza. Sebab kalau perempuan dia ada more fatty tissue daripada lelaki yang contain, sebab fatty tissue dia contain less water than lean tissue. Perempuan dia ada lebih banyak fatty tissue sebab korang tahu kan perempuan dia ada payudara. Jadi payudara tu dia mempengaruhi dia ada lemak lah. Faham kan? Kan tanpa laju. Ada yang tak faham?
Okay. Dengar, dengar.
Okay, dengar. Okay. Fluid compartment sudah. Okay, barrier between compartment. Dia ada plasma membrane, iaitu dia di antara ECF dan ICF. Kalau blood vessel wall, dia di antara plasma and interstitial fluid. Fluid balance pula dia correct distribution of water and solute. Water redistributes rapidly by osmosis. Korang tahu kan proses osmosis tu macam mana? Okay. Osmosis ni dia proses of solvent movement from low to higher solute concentration. Jadi kalau proses osmosis ni dia dari lower concentration dia akan berpindah ke higher concentration. Okay. Kalau fluid balance, dia require appropriate total volume of body fluid and appropriate distribution of water and solute. Okay, solute ni dia adalah substance yang dissolve dalam another substance. Contoh macam kalau yang ada senang kita boleh jumpa dekat dapur lah. Dapur ada gula kan? Contoh itu adalah solute. Gula, garam. Dia kalau kita campur dalam air dia akan dissolve macam tu. Itu adalah solute. Okay. Fluid balance depends on solute, electrolyte dengan non-electrolyte balance. Fluids and electrolyte are closely linked. Dia ada kena-mengena. Fluid dengan electrolyte ni dia rapat. Bukan rapat macam mana? Dia ada kaitan lah kalau fluid dengan electrolyte ni. Okay. Water redistribute rapidly by osmosis. Macam tadi lah. Sudah kan saya explain osmosis tu. Yang ini water gain and loss. Water gain ni apa air yang kita dapat. Contoh yang kita minum lah dalam badan. Contoh dia dapat dari ingestion dengan metabolic reaction. Ingestion ni daripada makanan dan minuman. Dia 2,300 ml sehari. Dia maksimum macam ni lah. Boleh juga lebih tapi dia kalau kurang mungkin itu tidak bagus untuk badan. Dia mungkin akan boleh jadi dehydration. Okay, kalau dia boleh dapat water gain juga boleh dapat dari metabolism iaitu 200 ml sehari. Okay. Kalau kita sudah ambil air, kita mesti keluarkan air tu sebab kita nak boleh simpan air dalam badan lama-lama. So, kita boleh keluarkan air melalui kulit, paru-paru dengan kidney dan GI tract. GI tract kurang tahu kan? Sistem pencernaan. Macam itulah. Okay, kalau kidney dia keluarkan 1,500 ml sehari. Kalau kulit dia keluar dari peluh 600 ml sehari. Kalau paru-paru pula melalui pernafasan dia akan keluar lebih kalau macam kita demam. Jadi 300 ml sehari dan kalau GI tract pula dia 100 ml sehari. Dia akan lebih jika kita macam ceret-beret. Yalah, ceret-beret. Okay. Inilah macam tadi tu yang saya explain. Okay, regulation of gain. Ke center kita ni dekat hypothalamus. Okay, saya tunjuk sekejap gambar hypothalamus. Nampak ke atau mau X dulu? Okay. Nampak dah?
Nampak.
Okay. Hypothalamus ni ada dekat sini. Dia dekat dengan pituitary gland. Ni ya. Hypothalamus. Okay. Sekejap ya. Okay, nampak kan? Okay. Terus center ni dia dekat hypothalamus. Okay, hypothalamus ni dia ada hormon ADH iaitu antidiuretic hormone. Hypothalamus ni dia akan rilis hormon ADH tu dan hormon tu dia akan hantar macam signal lah dekat badan kita dan kita akan terasa macam haus. And bila kita haus kita akan terus pergi minum air. Jadi di situ kita akan ambil kalau kita haus kita minum air and di situ kita akan dapat semula So, okay, mana nak explain lah? Okay, nantilah. Okay, 2% dehydration dia akan menyebabkan low BP. Bila low BP, dia akan meningkatkan body osmolality yang akan menyebabkan mulut kering dan kita akan rasa haus. Hormonal respon pula, bila high osmolality, hypothalamus release ADH and berlaku water retention by kidney. Okay. Osmolality ni refer to the concentration of dissolved particles of chemicals and minerals such as sodium dengan other electrolytes. Kalau water retention ni, dia occurs when excess fluid build up inside your body which can cause hydronephrosis. Itu kalau dalam kidney. Okay. Ni water retention. Dia akan menyebabkan kaki kita bengkak. Kalau macam kaki yang normal kita tekan dia tidak bekas, tapi kalau yang kaki yang bengkak ni kalau kita tekan sikit dia akan meninggalkan bekas kita tekan tu. Okay. Kalau dia apa ni? Kalau air dia macam ni, kalau air kurang dalam badan dia akan menyebabkan high osmolality. High osmolality ni dia akan menyebabkan hypothalamus release ADH dan kalau kita macam tak minum air kan, kalau kita nak minum air, dia akan menyebabkan build up excess fluid dalam badan kita. Kalau kita nak minum air, macam mana kita mau buang air lagi kan dalam air yang ada tinggal dalam badan kita. So, dia akan menyebabkan air tu akan menyebabkan badan-badan kaki bengkak. Kalau macam orang-orang tua yang bawah mata dia bengkak tu, faham? Okay. Okay, saya proceed Ni yang tadi tu lah. Tapi ni dia punya carta. Kalau korang nak faham lebih lanjut, senang nak faham boleh tengok carta saja. Okay. Regulation of salt and water loss. Okay. Urinary sodium chloride loss mainly determine body fluid volume. Maksud dia, sodium chloride dalam kencing kita ni dia akan menentukan volume body fluid fluid dalam badan kita. Okay. Sodium ion ni dia main solute in ECF iaitu extracellular fluid yang akan menentukan proses osmosis. Fluid intake varies, so loss must vary also. Trial natriuretic peptide ANP, angiotensin 2 dan aldosterone regulate. ADH pula regulates water loss. Sekejap ya, ada nota. Fungsi angiotensin 2 adalah untuk raise blood pressure dan fungsi aldosterone pula untuk regulate salt and water dalam body kita. So, dia renin release ni dari kidney ni dia akan pergi ke hormon angiotensin sebab sudah low BP. So, dia mesti naikkan blood pressure tu balik. Dia nak boleh, badan tu nak boleh biarkan saja. So, bila kita nak minum, itu yang menyebabkan boleh berlaku kaki bengkak tu. That's why kalau macam kita haus, kita mesti pergi minum. Kita nak boleh biarkan je badan kita tu. Terutama orang yang ada masalah blood pressure. Okay. Movement of fluid, pergerakan fluid dalam badan, dia ICF and ECF Selalunya adalah dalam osmolality yang sama. Dan air ni bergerak secara bebas dalam badan kita. Lower interstitial fluid osmolality will cause cell swelling and vice versa. Okay, cell swelling ni macam sel yang bengkak lah. Korang pernah dengar paru-paru bengkak kan? Macam tu lah kalau dia berlaku low interstitial fluid osmolality. Dia often berlaku disebabkan oleh perubahan sodium ion. ADH ni dia respon secara cepat untuk mengelakkan daripada berlakunya perubahan kekal dekat sel tu. Okay, faham? Okay, ni untuk odema, korang tengok dulu supaya faham.
Kalau share window dengar suara kan? Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This diagram illustrates mechanisms of edema development. Understand it?
Alisa tak nampak.
Tak nampak?
Alisa dengan suara je.
Layak ke? Macam mana? Jap, kalau macam ni? Ni
Mana?
tak boleh. Ni?
Dah.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This diagram illustrates mechanisms of edema development. Understanding these mechanisms is helpful to comprehend clinical causes of this symptom. Edema is defined as fluid accumulation in the interstitial space. Blood arrives to the tissue through blood vessels. We have the arterial system get continuous branching until we reach the very small arterioles. Then that give rise to the capillaries, and capillaries are the blood vessels that are in contact with the tissue, and the vessels through which oxygen and nutrient pass to the cells. Also, carbon dioxide and waste products enter the blood, which then drain into the venous system. Some fluid normally pass to the tissue and cannot get back directly to the blood. This extra fluid is not accumulated in the interstitial space, but pass to the lymphatic system, which ultimately drain that fluid back to the blood. So, what are the factors that determine how much fluid passes to the tissue? Well, there are two kinds of pressure that play a role. They are the hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure, and also there is the permeability of the capillaries. Normally, the endothelial cells of the capillary are in contact to each other, preventing much fluid to pass from the blood to the tissue. However, in case of inflammation, chemical mediators are released, promoting contraction of these endothelial cells, and this contraction causes these endothelial cells to shrink. This shrinkage allows the spaces between these endothelial cells, to contract and to conduct extra amount of fluid to the tissue. That's why inflammation is associated with development of edema. Clinical example of inflammatory condition that might present with edema is cellulitis. Cellulitis is inflammation occurring in the skin, particularly it affects the epidermis and subcutaneous tissue. Then we have two kinds of pressure that interact to maintain the intravascular space. These pressure are the hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure is determined by the amount of water in the blood vessel. So, in case fluid is increased in the blood vessels due to any reason, the hydrostatic pressure increases. And if the hydrostatic pressure increase, then the extra water will pass to the tissue where there is less hydrostatic pressure, and this passing continues until we reach equilibrium. Examples of conditions in which vascular hydrostatic pressure increases include renal failure, heart failure, and venous obstruction. A major function of the kidney is to excrete extra amount of fluid. It is function in fluid homeostasis. So, in case of renal failure, we lose this ability. Fluid accumulates in the vascular space, increasing the hydrostatic pressure, and edema develops. Also, if we have venous obstruction, fluid will be prevented to pass through. Backflow of blood then to the capillary increases hydrostatic pressure and results in edema. Diseases that may cause venous obstruction include deep vein thrombosis and pelvic tumor. Also, abdominal tumor may obstruct the inferior vena cava, resulting in bilateral lower limb edema. The second type of pressure that keeps fluid inside the vascular space is the colloid osmotic pressure, colloid oncotic pressure. This type of pressure is similar to the salt that keeps fluid in its space. You know, if we have high salt in one side of a membrane, fluid will be attracted to pass into that side of the membrane. Oncotic pressure does the same, but it does not depend on salt but on proteins. The major intravascular protein is albumin, and it is synthesized in the liver. So, if we have low albumin due to liver disease, for example, oncotic pressure becomes low and fluid will pass to the interstitium. Causes of hypoalbuminemia include, beside liver disease that we discussed, nephrotic syndrome, in which protein is lost in the urine, and also cause of hypoalbuminemia is malnutrition. Finally, the last cause of edema, illustrated in the diagram, is lymphatic obstruction. This might be due to parasitic infection such as filariasis.
Okey, faham kan? Okay, saya explain sikit. Edema ni dia fluid retention. Dia dulu kena panggil dropsy, and edema can be most easily seen around the ankle after you've been standing. Macam kadang-kadang kalau kita berdiri terlalu lama, kalau kita tekan bawah ankle tu dia akan macam ada swelling sikit. Ataupun kalau macam korang yang selalu tengok K-drama ni kan, malam-malam, lepas tu nangis, then tertidur. Lepas bangun tidur tu esok pagi mata korang mesti bengkak kan yang bawah tu. Itulah macam odema ni. Tapi itu kalau yang macam bengkak lepas nangis tu dia belum severe sangat lah. Kalau severe cases dia boleh collect dalam paru-paru kita dan menyebabkan berlaku shortness of breath. Okay, ada soalan? Apa tu? Bila berlaku? Dia berlaku bila apa ni? Air dah berkumpul dalam paru-paru menyebabkan paru-paru kita macam sempit. Tak ada ruang untuk udara masuk lagi. That's why dia berlaku shortness of breath. Okay. Okay, next. Function of electrolytes. Okay, dia confined to compartment. Electrolyte ni untuk control proses osmosis dan help maintain acid-base balance, carry electrical currents and serve as cofactors for enzymes. Okay. Electrolyte distribution. Electrolyte content of ICF and ECF differ significantly. Okay. In intracellular fluid adalah potassium ion adalah major cation dan protein major cation iaitu protein, manakala kalau hydrogen phosphate pula adalah anions untuk ICF. Kalau ECF pula sodium ion adalah major cation dia and orang tahu tak apa ni? Chloride, dia macam chloride kah? Kalau nak silap lah, chloride adalah major anion untuk ECF. Sodium ion, ada yang salah? Okay. Sodium ion dengan potassium ion ni dia maintains dekat untuk cation difference. The two ECF fluids are similar. Electrolytes in plasma similar to those in interstitial fluid. Satu perbezaan adalah plasma contains more protein daripada interstitial fluid. Dua-dua ada protein tapi plasma dia lebih banyak protein daripada IF. Okay. Colloid osmotic pressure. Dia berlaku disebabkan largely to plasma proteins holds onto fluid in capillaries. Ni electrolyte distribution, dia punya jadual korang boleh tengok. Okay. Ada electrolytes pula, dia kalau potassium ion dia lebih tinggi dalam ICF tapi lebih rendah dalam ECF. Kalau ICF ni intracellular fluid, ECF extracellular. Jadi potassium ion dia lebih tinggi dalam sel berbanding daripada luar sel. Dia regulated by aldosterone, hormon aldosterone. Magnesium ion pula dengan sulfate ion lebih tinggi dalam ICF daripada ECF. Kalau calcium ion dia lebih tinggi dalam ECF dan lebih rendah dalam ICF. Dia regulated dalam plasma, PTH, calcitriol and calcitonin. PTH ni parathyroid hormone. Calcitonin ni dia adalah hormon yang produce dalam manusia oleh parafollicular cells, commonly known as C cells. Korang boleh search lah dekat internet untuk maklumat lanjut. Kalau calcitriol pula adalah synthetic physiologically active analog of vitamin D, specifically the vitamin D3 form. Kalau yang ni saya tak berapa faham. Kalau calcitriol, korang boleh search lah untuk maklumat tambahan korang. Okay. Tulang ni tugas dia sebagai penyimpanan kalsium ion. Itulah orang cakap minum susu untuk tambah kalsium dalam tulang. Kalau sekarang acid base balance. Input ni yang masuk dan output ni yang keluar. Yang masuk adalah yang mempengaruhi dia diet dengan product of metabolism such as lactic acid dengan ketones. Okay, output pula dia keluar daripada lungs melalui exhale of carbon dioxide and daripada kidney dan boleh eliminate ni hydrogen ion kalau tak silap. Ya, hydrogen ion. Okay, regulatory mechanism ada 3, buffer, respiratory response dengan renal response. Kalau buffer dia cepat tapi tidak lengkap. Kalau respiratory cepat sama juga macam buffer tapi lebih lambat daripada buffer. Dan dia juga tidak lengkap. Kalau renal response dia paling lambat tapi paling lengkap. Okay. Buffer system dia protein in cells or plasma, carboxyl and amino groups of amino acids, hemoglobin in red blood cell, carbonic acid bicarbonate, especially important in plasma. Kalau exhalation of carbon dioxide, yang ni saya susah sikit nak explain, so kita ambil yang ini. Some stimulus demonstration. Then dia akan hantar dekat reseptor iaitu chemoreceptor dalam medulla oblongata dan chemoreceptor dalam aortic and carotid bodies. Input dia nerve impulse control center dekat medulla oblongata dan output dekat diaphragm contracts dekat effector iaitu diaphragm contracts more forcefully and frequently, so more carbon dioxide is exhaled. As let's forms and fuel. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Forms and fewer hydrogen are present, blood pH increase and hydrogen ion concentration decrease. Okay. Lepas proses yang bawah sekali ni, dia akan kembali ke atas balik. Return to homeostasis when response bring blood pH or hydrogen ion concentration back to normal. Selagi tak normal, selagi tu dia tidak akan naik ke atas balik. Yang ketiga, renal response. Melalui kidney excretion of hydrogen ion. Dia slow, tapi it's the only way untuk betul-betul menyingkirkan asid atau base dalam badan. Secret hydrogen ion and replace with bicarbonate. Okay. Imbalance dia kalau berlaku macam kurang imbalance ni dia ada nama-nama dia lah sini. Acidosis iaitu arterial blood pH lower than 7.35. Kalau kurang daripada 7.35 maksudnya ada acidosis yang akan menyebabkan depresses dekat central CNS. Kalau dia lebih turun dekat 7.0 dia punya pH boleh menyebabkan dia lebih buruk lah kesan dia. Macam boleh dia lebih membahayakan dekat kita kalau it's below pH 7.0. Alkalosis pula, if the arterial blood pH boleh juga dia boleh membawa kematian. Sebab dia akan menyebabkan depresses dekat central neurosystem. Neurosystem tu dekat, korang tahu kan dekat mana? So below 7.0 dia akan jadi fatal. Okay? Alkalosis pula, arterial blood pH more than 7.45. Kalau normal blood pH dia 7.35 to 7.45. Tapi kalau lebih daripada 7.45, dia akan berlaku overexcitation of central neurosystem yang akan menyebabkan muscle spasm and convulsions. Yang ketiga, compensation. Respiratory or renal mechanism, and respiratory very rapid, renal slower. Okay. Ni acid base balance. Okay. Korang tengok supaya korang lebih faham.
pH is an indicator of acidity. The body's blood pH is strictly regulated within a narrow range between 7.35 and 7.45. This is because even a minor change in acidity may have devastating effects on protein stability and biochemical processes. Normal cellular metabolism constantly produces and excretes carbon dioxide into the blood. Carbon dioxide combines with water to make carbonic acid, which dissociates into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate. This is an equilibrium, meaning all of the components of the left and
Ini yang exhalation of carbon dioxide tadi itulah.
right sides coexist at all times, and the concentration of any component is determined by that of others at any given moment. The rule of thumb is an increase in concentration of any component on one side will shift the equation to the other side, leading to increased concentrations of all components on that side, and vice versa. This equilibrium is central to understand acid-base regulation. Continued carbon dioxide production by all cells of the body drives the equilibrium to the right to generate more hydrogen ions. Because pH is basically a function of hydrogen ion concentration, more hydrogen means higher acidity and lower pH. Normal metabolism therefore constantly makes the blood more acidic. The body must react to keep the blood pH within the normal limits. This is achieved by two mechanisms. Elimination of carbon dioxide through exhalation. The amount of carbon dioxide exhaled by the lungs is regulated in response to changes in acidity. A decrease in pH is sensed by central or arterial chemoreceptors and leads to deeper, faster breathing. More carbon dioxide is exhaled, less hydrogen is made, blood acidity decreases, and blood pH returns to normal. Pulmonary regulation is fast, usually effective within minutes to hours. Excretion of hydrogen ions and reabsorption of bicarbonate through the kidneys. The kidneys control blood pH by adjusting the amount of excreted acids and reabsorbed bicarbonate. Renal regulation is slower. It usually takes days to respond to pH disturbances. Although all of the plasma bicarbonate is filtered in the glomerulus during the first step of urine formation, virtually all of it is reabsorbed back into the blood. Most of this reabsorption happens in the proximal tubule. The amount of reabsorbed bicarbonate in the proximal tubule is regulated via a number of mechanisms in response to changes in blood pH. It increases during acid loads and decreases during alkali loads. While the proximal tubule basically returns filtered bicarbonate back to the blood, The downstream collecting duct generates new bicarbonate by actively secreting acids. As protons are depleted from the distal tubular cells, the equation shifts to the right, producing more bicarbonate, which then exits into the blood. Hydrogen ions secreted into the lumen combine with urinary buffers, mainly filtered phosphate and ammonia, to be excreted in urine. The ammonia buffering system is particularly important because, unlike phosphate, which is filtered in fixed amounts from the plasma and can be depleted during high acid loads, ammonia production is regulated in response to changes in acidity, and its concentration may increase several-fold when necessary. Blood pH is the main regulator of acid excretion, but potassium, chloride concentrations, and several hormones also play important roles. Pathologic changes may cause acid-base disturbances. Acidosis refers to a process that causes increased acidity, while alkalosis refers to one that causes increased alkalinity. It's not uncommon for a patient to have several processes going on at once, some of them in opposite directions. The resulting plasma pH may be normal, too acidic, called acidemia, or too basic, called alkalemia. Acidosis may result from inadequate function of the lungs, which causes arterial carbon dioxide to accumulate. This is respiratory acidosis. On the other hand, metabolic acidosis may result from excessive production of metabolic acids, ingestion of acids, decreased ability of the kidneys to excrete acids, or loss of alkali. Metabolic acidosis is characterized by primary decrease in plasma bicarbonate. Alkalosis can also be either respiratory or metabolic. Respiratory alkalosis is caused by increased ventilation, resulting in excessive exhalation of carbon dioxide. Metabolic alkalosis can result from excess loss of acids through the kidneys or gastrointestinal tract, bicarbonate retention, or ingestion of alkali. Metabolic alkalosis is characterized by primary increase in plasma bicarbonate. Thank you for watching. Please feel.
Okay. Korang faham kan acid-base balance homeostasis? Sekarang last slide. Aging. Dia boleh decrease in control of water and electrolyte balance can lead to pH problem. Tadi pagi Alisa dah explain kalau aging dia boleh menyebabkan kidney shrink. Kidney shrink yang akan menyebabkan dia berlakunya orang tu dia tak rasa haus sangat. So bila dia tak rasa haus sangat, dia akan kurang minum air yang akan menyebabkan dehydration. That's why kalau orang-orang tua ni, orang yang dah tua, kita mesti paksa dia orang minum air. Bukanlah paksa yang terus tuang dalam mulut tu, bukanlah macam tu. Yang slowly bagi tahu dia orang yang dia orang mesti minum air at least 8 glass satu hari. Kalau tak pun 1 botol yang kalau kita pergi sekolah selalu tu pun sedialah dekat satu tempat yang dekat dengan orang tua tu. Jadi bila diorang nampak, diorang ingat untuk minum air. Okay. Dia boleh juga mengurangkan respiratory and renal function kalau aging. And dia boleh mengurangkan capacity to sweat. Yalah kalau sudah tua, diorang tak akan bersukan melainkan diorang aktif. Macam ada uncle-uncle Cina, kalau korang pergi berjogging, korang nampak uncle Cina kan, pagi-pagi diorang sudah buat morning walk diorang. Itu untuk mengeluarkan peluh. Tapi ada sometimes yang bila diorang sudah tua, diorang tak mau bersukan. And dia menyebabkan kurangnya capacity untuk sweat. Okay. Ada yang tak faham? Buat tai chi tu. Okay. Oh, boleh juga kan? Kejap. Okay, fikir dulu. Kejap, sabar. Yang senang-senang lah.
Kacang nak jawab.
Semua jawab. Okay.
Dan
Apa tu odima? Sudah. Kejap. Bagi simple explanation pasal odima ni yang korang faham. Okay, betul. Wih, KK terus left tu. Lari terus. Okay, betul. Semua betul. Okay, semua fokus. KK, apa tu odima?
Odima. Sekejap, sabar. Alamak, aku lupa lah.
Dima.
Dia macam bengkak kan.
Okay, betul. Betul. Okay, tu je. Tak ada soalan dah. Korang tanya. Ada yang tak faham kot, nak ulang balik? Ke semua faham? Wish, faham miss. Okay anak-anak, semua faham Okay dah, boleh stop. Stop present kan? Stop lah.